Today we're going to be taking a look at a 2023 Toyota bZ4X XLE all-wheel drive. Let's get started. This is the first year of Toyota's very first mass-produced EV in the United States. Some of you may remember that about a year ago I did do a video on a prototype bZ4X Limited, but now that it's been available here for a few months, it's time for us to do an overview of the production model. Under the hood we have no engine. Instead we have two electric motors that are 80 kilowatts each, and this bZ4X is rated for 214 horsepower. It's rated at 104 mpge, which is miles per gallon equivalent, and the XLE all-wheel drive here has a range of 228 miles. The XLE all-wheel drive starts at $44,080, and this one here as spec'd is $46,609. In this overview, we're going to go over the exterior and then we're going to jump inside and talk about some of the features. Starting off in the front of the bZ4X, the first thing that you notice is that we don't have a large front grille. Instead, we have a much smaller lower grille, which still lets some air pass through to cool the batteries. But over here, we have a very large white bumper piece. There are some parking sensors on there and tow hook covers. Just above the bumper, we have this black plastic piece right here that bridges the two headlights together. And behind that black plastic piece is the radar that helps us with Toyota Safety Sense features. The headlights on this bZ4X are Toyota's bi-LED projector headlights, and they do also have an LED daytime running light built into them. Moving to the hood, we have our Toyota emblem, which faces upwards, unlike most Toyotas, which face forwards towards the car in front of you. Up here, we can also talk about this color, which is Toyota's Windchill Pearl. It's their Pearl White, and it's an extra $425 from the factory if you want to get this color. As you get closer towards the windshield, the hood also has this black plastic piece over here for some more styling. Also on the hood, we have a very strong body line starting from the headlight going towards the driver's door, and we also have the same thing over here going from this headlight towards the passenger door. Moving up to the windshield, we do have these de-icer lines right here behind the wipers. This way, if the wipers do stick to your windshield in freezing temperatures, you have a button in the interior to unfreeze them. And at the top of the windshield, we have a camera mounted, which is going to be looking at the cars in front of you and the lane markings on the road. This is going to help us with Toyota Safety Sense features, and Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 is standard on all bZ4Xs. Moving on to wheels and tires, the XLE has these 18-inch alloy wheels with plastic covers on them, and this is very unusual because anytime that you would normally see plastic covers, it's usually because the wheel is made of steel and they just want to put a nicer looking plastic cover on it. In this case, you have alloy wheels and plastic covers on them. I believe the reason why this is done is for better fuel economy. And the tire size here is 235/60 R18. And built in just above this front driver side tire, we have our charging port. So we just tap right here to open. As long as the bZ4X is unlocked, this will open up here. And we have two different ports. So over here we do have an AC port. This right here is what you'll see at most public charging stations and the one that you'll charge at home with. This right here will take roughly about 11 hours to charge the bZ4X if you're at a 240 volt station. If you're at home using the provided level 1 charger, this should take roughly 36 to 50 hours. So a very slow charge if you're at level 1. Even level 2, which would require going out to a public station or installing one at home, is still roughly 9 to 11 hours depending on where you are. Really, nobody's going to charge this thing when it has 0% battery left, so this could take roughly 9 to 11 hours to charge using level 2 charging. The bZ4X also has a second port down here. This is for DC charging or direct current. This right here will charge the bZ4X to 80% in roughly 30 to 40 minutes. The big challenge is going to be finding a DC charging stations. They're not as common as these level 2 public AC charging stations. So finding one with that connection is going to be the challenge, but they're starting to become more and more common. Continuing on over to the side, at the very bottom there is some black plastic cladding. Over here we also do have keyless entry, which is standard. We can tap right here on these two lines to lock the bZ4X, and then we can place our hand right here behind the handle. It's automatically going to unlock. The side mirror here is also black to color match some of the other black accents around the car, like the hood and the fenders over here. The bZ4X does have standard blind spot monitors. This XLE here does not have a 360-degree camera, and we're only going to see a reverse camera in the back. Around the windows, we have some black plastic trim pieces, and over here on the rear windows, you're going to see this sticker that comes from Toyota saying make the most of your EV experience. It's going to tell you a little bit more about range and charging. It has this little QR code down there where you can scan it and learn a little bit more about the bZ4X. At the top of the bZ4X, we have these standard black roof rails over here where you can mount crossbars and then you can place all sorts of objects on top of the roof. You can also see here on the roof that it is entirely all black leading all the way back there. This is because the bZ4X does have a standard panoramic sunroof. Moving on now to the rear of the bZ4X, bZ4X, we have our large rear glass piece back here. There is no rear wiper for the bZ4X. Then just down below that, we have our tail lights, which do connect together. It looks very nice at night. And there is a little bit of black plastic, kind of just like the Camrys, that just droops down from the tail lights. Over here, we also have our bZ4X badging. The BZ is in blue, and that BZ does stand for Beyond Zero. Toyota does plan to release more vehicles with the BZ name, so we're going to be seeing other cars that have BZ with a different number and a different letter. Over here, we also have our Toyota emblem, our reverse camera, all-wheel drive badge at the bottom right, some more parking sensors. Down here we also have this black plastic piece which has our reflectors as well as more parking sensors. The interesting thing about this black plastic piece here is it does have this little cut right there in the center, so it looks like you can put a tow hitch back there. Moving on to the cargo area, the XLE bZ4X does not have a powered liftgate, so we are going to have to manually push it up by hand like this. But over here you can see how much cargo space we have. We do have our rubber floor mats for the interior as well as a rubber mat here for the cargo area. And underneath this floorboard, you can see we do have a level 1 charger. This does come free and standard with every bZ4X. This is what's going to charge the car in like 36 to 50 hours. Back here, you also get this rear sliding cargo cover, so you can latch it onto these points right here, and then when the liftgate is closed, nobody can see what you have inside. These seats right here can also be folded down. All you have to do is pull up like this and then push the seats forward. And one last little touch back here, there is these little hooks where you can attach your groceries. These do have a maximum 4 kilogram capacity though. Next, let's jump inside and talk about some of our interior features. So as usual here, we're going to start with the door card. The door card here, we have a mix of plastic and some soft touch material. There is also going to be a lot of gloss black over here in the interior. We have auto up-down windows on all 4 corners, our window lock, lock, unlock, and mirror controls. Our door handle over here is just this regular matte black plastic, and there is also a little storage cubby over here where you would go to open and close the doors. Just down below that, we have 2 cup holders over here and one of our 6 interior speakers. Moving on to the seats now in this bZ4X, this is what Toyota calls their mixed media. The reason why is because this is a mix of their Softex leather material up at the top and the outer portions of the seat, as well as their fabric on the inner and the lower portions of the seat. So it's a mix of a leather and a fabric. Both the driver and passenger seat are also not power adjustable. Next up, we're going to talk about some of the buttons over here beside the steering wheel, starting here with the hood release. Now, there is no frunk in the bZ4X. Instead, you do have some of the car's internals up there. But if you do need to go in there to check your brake fluid, coolant, or if you need to top off on your windshield wiper fluid, you can just release the hood over here. Next up, we have our automatic high beams button. To turn that on, it's going to be right over here. And then moving up from that, we do have one of our air vents. We can just change where that is right here. What's also very interesting about the bZ4X is the entire dashboard is going to be made up of that same fabric material that you're sitting on the chairs. So we have fabric all around the dashboard, and you guys will see in just a moment when we fully get inside. Over here behind the steering wheel, we also have a release where we can adjust the steering wheel position so we can move it up, down, in, or outwards. Sitting inside of the bZ4X now, we have this leather-wrapped steering wheel over here. It's stitched with black stitching, and in the center of that, we do have this rectangular airbag and horn. Next up, we have a whole lot of buttons on this steering wheel, so we're going to try to break each one of these down here. Starting off on the left side over here, we have these arrows and OK button. This is going to control the 7-inch multi-information display that we have behind the steering wheel. And then we also have a return button over here, so when you're within the menus of that 7-inch display, you have a return button. We have this button over here to pick up and end phone calls, as well as a way to adjust our volume and use our voice assistant. Over on the right side over here, we have some of our Toyota Safety Sense controls like lane depart alert, lane depart assist, and dynamic radar cruise control. We have different audio modes over here, and we can skip tracks and rewind tracks over here. Behind the steering wheel to the left, we do have our turn signal indicators, which do have an auto mode for the headlights, and to the right, we have our wiper controls. Behind the steering wheel as well, we do have a brightness control for that 7-inch MID, as well as an odometer trip reset. Next up, let's turn on this bZ4X and see what it looks like. Now that we have the bZ4X turned on, let's break down what we have in this 7-inch MID. Starting off with the top right, we have our clock. Then off to the sides, we have an alert that I'm not wearing my seatbelt and an alert that our electronic parking brake is up. On the very left side, we do have this green ready icon. This just lets us know that the vehicle is turned on and it's ready to be driven. Because the bZ4X is so quiet, we need an alert like this to let us know if the car is actually turned on. At the top left of the screen, we have our outside temperature. Bottom left of the screen has the current odometer. And in the center, we have this wheel where we have our speedometer, what gear we're in, what safety features are turned on, how many miles of range we have left, if the fan is turned on, because the fan also does affect how much range you have. If I turn this fan off right now, you can see my range just jumped from 60 to 75 miles. And over here on the left side of this wheel, we can see whether we're in charge, eco, or power. This is going to change depending on how much you're accelerating your bZ4X. If you want to get some more information out of this 7-inch display, we can also press on this return button over here at the top left. This right here is going to slide away that wheel and open up this new menu over here. Over here, we have things like our eco indicator. We can use the arrows on the wheel to then go down to see different information about what safety features we have turned on. We can also see the compass, what music is playing. We also have our trip information, settings for the vehicle, and any warning messages that are displayed. Moving on to the center screen, the bZ4X has a standard 12.3-inch touchscreen, and this does have Toyota's new audio and multimedia system, so we do have now wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. The software is really easy to use, and it gives you a way to connect your phone to the car without having to plug in like you used to. The screen doesn't have a volume knob. Instead, we have these volume buttons, so we can click right here for volume plus or minus. We can also turn off audio or turn on audio by pressing this power button over here. Next up, we have our climate controls. The bZ4X does have dual zone climate control, so we can have a different temperature for the driver and a different temperature for the passenger. We can also press the sync button right here and then just control both sides with one control. If you do want heated seats and a heated steering wheel on your bZ4X, it is a $500 option. You would have to get the weather package for that, but it is standard on the limited models. Next up, beside the power button, we have two more vents and our emergency lights. Over here, we also have our shifting controls, so you can see right now we're in park, but if we want to go into reverse, we have to push down on this wheel and then turn left. This then puts up the rear view camera. If we want to go into drive, we push down and twist right. And if we want to go into neutral, we just push down and hold, then we're in neutral. If we want to go back to park, we press this little button right over here. We also have a few buttons beside the shifter over here, like our electronic parking brake hold feature, hill ascent and descent control, eco mode, X mode, and traction control off. If you press on X mode, you can switch between snow and dirt or deep snow / mud. Moving down from all of that, we have this storage area which you can touch to open, and it does have a wireless phone charger as well. This does seem to be an improved wireless phone charger. I've noticed that my phone doesn't really slide around in this wireless charger as much as it does in some other Toyotas. We also have a USB Type A port down here, and underneath this entire center area, we do have this pass-through where we can place some more objects, and we do also have two USB-C ports down there, as well as a 12-volt power outlet. Next up, we have our center console area. So we can first slide this back right over here to reveal two cup holders, and then we can open up our center console. At first, the center console doesn't look like it's very large at all, but we can remove this plastic piece right here, and we have actually a lot more center console storage. This is also where you're going to find the owner's manuals for your bZ4X. For the longest time, I thought that these didn't come with owner's manuals because I never knew that this plastic piece right here was removable. Next, let's enter in through the passenger side of the bZ4X. The door card is going to be pretty much the exact same thing that we see over on the driver's side, but sitting inside of the passenger seat now, we can actually appreciate more of this fabric dashboard. Personally, I'm a pretty big fan of this fabric dashboard, but one thing that you're going to notice here being the passenger in the bZ4X is that the bZ actually doesn't have a glove box. There's nothing here that opens up. The bZ just does not have a glove box at all. If you Google why Toyota did this, they're going to tell you that they did it for more passenger legroom, but I don't see why they couldn't have had just something open up here, even for a tiny glove box. It would have been something instead of not having one at all. Moving upwards, we have a auto dimming rear view mirror, so you don't have to dim it yourself. It does have a button over here. You can turn it on and it's automatically going to dim at night for you. But there is no home link, so you cannot connect any garage remotes to this mirror. Moving up from that, we have some of our light controls over here. Up here, we also have our emergency SOS button, as well as our sunroof controls. Now, the sunroof itself does not actually open up to allow any air to come into the cabin, but it's just a sunshade that opens up and closes. The sunroof is also separated into two pieces, so we sort of have this front area over here and the rear area over here. However, if I take my camera and go up over here, you can see that it's actually just all one piece of glass. It's just this little black piece right here that separates the two. Next up, we have the visors, which do have a mirror and a light. We can also swivel them around, and there is also an extra little piece if you do need that extra coverage. Next up, let's move along to the rear seats and see what we have back here. So sitting inside of the rear seats, there's about the same amount of room that there is in a RAV4, if maybe not just a little bit more. We do have some storage pockets behind the driver and the passenger seat. Back here, we also have 2 USB-C ports for the rear passengers, as well as 2 air vents. And if you're not using the center seat, you can fold this down for 2 extra cup holders or an armrest. The outer seats also have some latch points for child seats. And like mentioned earlier, we can very easily just fold these rear seats by pulling up on these handles over here. That's going to do it for this week's overview of the 2023 Toyota bZ4X XLE all-wheel drive. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel to help me grow and make more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.